And boom, according to that, I am live. I'm back in stereo. I think last week, actually, the audio, I was using the webcam audio instead of the nice audio, the nice mic audio. So that's a thing. Oh, I've just realized I need to update the background. I forgot to do that. I mean, I can do that on the fly. I'm going to do that right now because what could go wrong? Wallpaper. Hmm. Hang on a sec. I can change this. I'm going to do it. Let's do it. Oh, that's not it. Here. Boom. Oh, that's nice. That worked well. Cool. Hopefully you can see that screen background change. And welcome to Tokyo Tonight. As usual, extremely organized and set up well ahead of time. So yeah, good to see everybody. Wow, we've already got so many people here in the chat. I hope that you got the notification. I did try to get this up an hour early. I've been playing sort of single dad at the moment. So, doing various stuff for this week. But that's all good. How is everybody there doing? It's good to see so many people already rocking in. Let's say hello. Kustos can't make it. Yeah, by the way, just to Kustos, I think actually you left a comment during the week that I never got back to, which I feel bad about. So I'll do that. And also my apologies as well for the other week if anything, and I shouldn't, I'm here to talk about Japan, not to talk about Russia. Although I have strong opinions about what Russia is doing, but they're personal and not really informed opinions, and I apologize if anything I said came across as um, racist or whatever. It certainly wasn't the intention last week, but yeah. Anyway, so I do, and you know what? If you I do say something like that you disagree with, I actually do welcome the debate, as I hope you can see. I actually, it's my job is to debate stuff. In fact, if I have a problem, it's that I often enjoy debating things, and I'm more willing to be flexible about things than other people are. I'm more flexible in my ideology, which some people don't like. But yeah, anyway, I appreciate being educated about stuff by all of you as well. So anyway, sorry you can't make it, Kustos, but see you next time, and hope you enjoy the comments. I am not afraid anymore. And I will not be afraid because our man from Panama, Shubas, is here and enjoying a nice cup of coffee, as I can already see there. Good to see. Very nice. We've got Believe in Yourself. Um, already asking if people are smashing like. You can tap like. You can gently brush the like. Just activate it. Whatever works. Good to see you. Believe in Yourself. Hi, Quint Rankin. Excellent to see you. Who else we got in here? We got Anyone Swordfish. Good to see you in there. Anyone Swordfish. Hello to you. DJay Sunny Side Up, a beautiful person. Say hello to all the beautiful people. Good to see you. Is this my life? Asks. Is this my life from Sweden? Good to see you, Sweden. Good to have you there in the chat. The Master. Good to have you in here. As always, good to have everybody. Mr. Cordy Chip. Yeah, what is that emoji? I don't know. That's reacting to my audio issue. What can we do? Hopefully the audio is actually working. I should just check. I've only got one channel active, and I do have the correct one, I believe, right now. So yes, indeed. Yabba dabba do and boom. We are. Oh, I thought we were live, but we actually have bada boom. We have Aaron. Indeed. Thanks, of course, to Ben Duncan's mum. I have butter now always. It's a plastic tree ornament, but I do appreciate having that there just in case it ever feels like we need more butter. So yes, butter boom, indeed. Good to have you, our wonderful moderator, Aaron. Good to have you in here. It says episode 112. Really? Where does it say that? That'd be cool. I wonder what episode we're up to, actually. That'd be kind of cool. I actually should be adding these. If I add these to a certain playlist, it automatically makes them audio podcasts, which I should be doing now. But I haven't done that. So yeah, that's a thing I've got to remember to do. We are professionals. We are indeed. Slake Manson, good to see you. Dance for my likes. Dance for my likes. Dance. I'll build up to it. I'll build up to it. It's coming. It's coming. Gonna grab a Chuhai. Cheers from Kochi as always. And our man from Flint, Tai Nakamura. Good to see you in there. I'm glad that everyone can hear. I'm glad that everybody is here in the chat. So yeah. Hope you're all doing good. How are things in Japan? We've got it's getting better. It still feels like middle of summer. It still is hot. Today was like a gloomy day in 29, 30, which was nice, actually. I actually went for a run today. I ate a little bit too much before it, so it wasn't really very comfortable, but it was nice to go out and not feel like I'm going to get heat stroke. So that was an achievement. But, oh, geez, this is, the timeout here is intense. But yeah, smashing the like button before it melts. Nice one, Shubas. Thank you for doing that. Yeah, it's Japan is Japanning. We are slowly getting into autumn. It's autumn in the sense that it's getting like where I'm come from, we don't say fall. Um, because leaves fall. Yeah, it's just a strange one for me, but we do, yeah, we're not quite into that yet. It still feels like summer. It still is humid. It still is hot, but it is much better than the awful summer that we've had this year. That I hope we never have to go through ever again. So yeah, we got Theodore Sharp in here. Long time no see, man. Good to see you in the comments there, Theodore Sharp. Kerberos Tenshi, glad that you made it. Never fear, CT is here indeed. Hikso Simon from Nepani, Ontario, Canada. I don't know what that is about, but thank you anyway. Oh, that's you're at the Airbnb. Well, that's cool. Hope you're enjoying that. Crow Serainats, good to see you. What's the haps? What are we talking about today? We're talking about all stuff going on in Japan. Indeed, it did finally cool off today. It was tolerable. We're still going to have some more hot days, but it's slowly getting better anyway. It is actually now getting into being a good time to come to Japan. I mean, it's always a good time to come to Japan, but definitely, yeah. Now, what I'm hearing from people, by the way, I was talking to my mum today, and she was talking about how she looked up trips to Japan. And while Japan itself is super affordable and the yen is like on a 50% off sale at the moment, I mean, it's looking like it might crack 150 yen to the US dollar, which is ridiculous. It's normally about 110. That said, hotels are expensive even by US standards, mainly because they're just oversubscribed and they don't have the capacity for it. And they know that people will pay. They're charging US prices. So basically, if you're Japanese and you want to travel in Japan right now, airfares and hotels are ridiculously expensive. But, you'll be able to enjoy $3, full good tasting meals from convenience stores or whatever. And, you'll actually, the cost of living once you get here is much, much better. So, yes, indeed. Your Japanese girlfriend's going to move to Sweden next summer. I hope she'll like it there. If she moves there in summer, she'll be. That's the good time to go to Sweden, I guess. My image of Sweden is very much like Seattle, where I was. That I'm guessing it has nice summers and awful winters and autumns or whatever. So yeah, that might be a good time, particularly if she's from Tokyo. So congrats on that. Is this my life? Edo, good to have you in here. Edo, I don't know if that's how you say the name, but that's how I'm going to say it. Edo, good to have you indeed. Glad that you could make it. So yeah, nice to see people. New JR prices, past prices effective today, says Shubis. That's right. I think they've gone up. I think they're still good value, but yeah, you just got to calculate. I mean, I think if you get out a calculator, if you plan to travel like every day, you get the value back on them pretty fast. They've actually been ridiculous. The price of the Japan Rail Pass hadn't changed in like geez, how long was it? It was like 30 years or something. I mean, nothing in Japan really had changed that much price in that time, but yeah. Oh, Crow Sirainas. If the hotels are getting more expensive, what about the capsule hotels or those 24/7 computer cafes? Computer cafes are pretty cheap, eh? I will say this. I have heard. I've never not heard of anyone who ever had a good experience at a capsule hotel. Here is why. Capsule, I know the concept seems cool, and they're actually, even because foreign tourists, they watch Blade Runner and stuff, and they think, oh, capsule hotels would be cool. And even to me, the concept seems cool, and I think out at some of like Narita Airport, they even have like capsule hotels. Maybe that's the only place that I would ever try it, a place where people are actually using it as a hotel. The reason you don't want to use a capsule hotel is that they are the last resort of the shimbashi, the drunk, throwing up everywhere violently, salarymen, office ladies who missed their last train home, have no money, and are suffering from alcohol poisoning. Basically it's the hotel of last resort for these sorts of purposes. They're noisy, they're full of people being sick and throwing up, and you are in a cramped, confined space throughout all of it. Do not. All I can say is everything I've ever heard tells me do not go to them. I've never stayed in a capsule hotel. There are better options. I would say the Manga Cafe, again, if you're really pushed. I mean, Jesus, get it. You can find cheap business hotels. I know they are getting more expensive. I definitely pick the Manga Cafe, any day of the week over that. Or if when I was young enough to stay out all night, I'd just go into a nightclub district. I'd go into, Eastern Shinjuku or Roppongi or whatever and just stay up till first train at 5 o'clock in the morning. But do not recommend capsule hotels. But yeah, Damaso had a business hotel for €31 a night yesterday. That must have been out in the countryside. I don't think I've not heard of even of a business hotel being, well, maybe you can get them 7,000 yen, which actually at the current exchange rate is about $50. So I have stayed. I guess now that I think, I was going to say 10,000 yen, which even that's quite cheap at the moment. But there you go. Indeed, Erin also booking for travelers right now, and expensive to travel, but remember, cheap when you get here. But yes, you don't get the discount, unfortunately, on the travel stuff. Yeah, qualification for JR Rail Pass. I think you've got to be on a tourist visa, and I'm not sure if there's how many times you can use it, or you can't get a second one. But of course, Sweden, very big country. That's a good point. Sadiq, we've got Sadiq Hakanguris, our man from Florida. Good to have you in here. We've got yen is ridiculously cheap. Ramen, 5 yen every second day is so much fun. And in good ramen, this is the important thing. I paid $40, like, all up, tip, everything for crappy ramen in America that I could get for $5. Artisanal, world class, like line up the road ramen here in Japan. So that's exactly it, Damasta. I think when you get here, all the benefits are in, how cheap everything is that you can buy. Anyone Swordfish asks, Japanese footballers are now playing in top competitions around Europe. They have been for a while now. Do I think Japanese rugby players will also play in top competitions in the near future? Thing is, Japan has so much money here that, of course, rather than Muhammad moving to the mountain, Muhammad, the mountain moves to Muhammad. They're paying all the top European players to come and play in Japan, and top New Zealand players. Most All Blacks like to come and play in Japan because you don't get as beaten up as you get in Europe, and it's benefiting for the Japanese players that they're getting to play against top class competition here. I think it'll be really interesting after the World Cup. It'll be interesting to see if Japan. I think there are players. In fact, I think actually. Matsushima, the winger whose mother, I think, is Zimbabwean. He has been, I think, playing in France. So there are a couple already playing in European competitions, but certainly what's been happening is even some New Zealand professional teams have been taking in Japanese players. And I think it would be good for the game to take some more Japanese players. So who knows, they might get headhunted after the World Cup. Maybe there are scouts there. I hope that there are. That would be a good thing. Oh, now that's interesting. My streaming software appears to be crashing. Okay, so let's boot that up again. So yeah, who knows? I'm enjoying the World Cup, by the way. No spoilers on the game happening right now. Australia, Portugal. Yeah, Australia's been a bit of a disaster, which is a shame, but hopefully they'll turn it around. But yeah, DJ Sunny Side Up stayed 3 weeks at a Shinjuku capsule hotel. It was okay. Check-in, check-out time was inconvenient, though. Okay, well, that's a not horrific story, so that's a good thing. Vincent Birch, good to see you. Mate, whereabouts in Japan am I located? Then look at the title of the show. I am in Tokyo. Boom, let's see if I can reconnect my Twitter feed. That's really unusual that broke and worrying. Hopefully it does come back. Oh, thank heavens. There we go. You want to stay in Shizuoka or Tokyo. There again, you want to not get in trouble with the wife for letting the kids run barefoot in the park. You know what? If you're coming for a trip, like a vacation, I think Shizuoka would be better. Tokyo is just too big. There's too much to sort of figure out. Tokyo is fun if you've got specific things that you want to do, like Disneyland and stuff like that with the family. But you know what? I'm a big fan of Shizuoka. In fact, if you go to Shizuoka, you've got Mount Fuji, you've got Hakone, you've got the onsens, as well as right beside that, you've got some beaches that hold up to like the best beaches in Australia and New Zealand. No joke, down in Shimoda. So I would say you'd probably get a better trip, a better tourist experience actually down in Shizuoka. Even though I'm in Tokyo and I love Tokyo. Tokyo is a 35 million person megalopolis. So you'll just be lost here. I was lost here for like 2 or 3 years. So it takes a long time to figure out. You can do it if you've got specific plans, but Vincent, my advice is go for Shizuoka. Shizuoka is awesome. Theodore Sharp, Capsule Hotel isn't a week-long type of a stay. Indeed, it's generally drunk, lost salary men. So there you go. Wow, questions tonight. This is good to see. By the way, everybody remember, just if you say my name like DJ Sunny Side Up and others are doing, as you can see, for me, it flashes up orange, which gets my attention. I can't read every single comment. I will skip. I might miss you otherwise. So if you want to ask me a question, which I welcome and I actually love, say my name. That way you won't miss it. But that said, Zendith, I see you. Do I feel live streaming over the years has positively affected my life? Yeah. I mean, this has been a routine I've been doing for about like, geez, probably, I think I've been counting. I started streaming in 2008, although that wasn't really live streaming. I switched to I was sort of editing videos when I started YouTubing. I guess it's been about 10 years now. It's probably about 2013. I found live streaming the easiest way to consistently put stuff out, and just discovering that there was this good community here. I love the routine. I love going through the news. I love having someone to organize my thoughts and talk about them with. I love the feedback with all of you. And no question, I think I've benefited from it just through the connections I've made through YouTube and so on. And it's just, yeah, it's a great hobby. I mean, to the extent that live streaming for me is a hobby, it's never been something I've relied on for money or anything like that. I do it for personal enjoyment and pleasure, and I continue to enjoy it, which is why I keep doing it. And if I don't enjoy it, I will stop. The same as if you ask, does collecting stamps enrich the life of a stamp collector? Has positively affected the life of a stamp collector? Sure. And it's actually, like, although I've got a camera, I occasionally buy kit for it. It's a pretty low cost, pretty honestly, even low effort. It's stuff that I think I'd do anyway. So, yeah. Zendith, maybe in connections made, skills navigating audiences live or otherwise. What I will say, what I probably really do enjoy is when I have traveled, for example, to America or Australia or whatever, and getting to meet people who watch the show. Getting to meet Aaron for the first time a few months ago, just getting to say hello to people who appreciate what I do and just get to talk about life with people and to get to know you all. Is a really that's a real kick. That's a thrill for me every time that I do that. That's not what I do it for, but it's really nice when I get to do it. And a lot of the people in the chat here I have met in person before, so I do enjoy that. But yeah, I just enjoy having people to keep me company. Like I said, I would do this even if I had 2 followers. So the fact I have enough people that find this interesting is something that I find very rewarding. So wow, lots of comments piling up. I do want to go through. DJ Sunny Side Up. When will people start saying X, not Twitter? I saw an interview just tonight while I was boiling broccoli. That I was watching an interview with the CEO of X, who was actually very deliberately using terminology of Twitter when it was Twitter and X when it became X. And wow, she was so defensive and hostile. It was such an awkward interview. It was at this, I think it was the Verge Code Expo. It was on YouTube. I thought it'd be interesting to watch. And it was, yeah, that's a very tense person, as I guess you would be if you were in charge of Twitter, which is what I'm going to keep calling it, at least until everything. X is weird. I don't know. I can't get into that. Natalie, good to see you. You stayed in Shizuoka early this year and really enjoyed it. Yeah, I've never had a bad trip in Shizuoka, actually. Yeah, for a trip myself, if I was to go for a trip, of course I live in Tokyo, so it's hard to recommend Tokyo as a trip for a place that I live in. But for places in Japan that I would go to for a trip, I think Shizuoka would be close to the top of the list. Shimoda is one of my favorite places in the world, actually. They get crayfish down there. You can get cheap crayfish cooked by the ocean. You can surf, you can swim, you can scuba dive, and you like 15 minutes away, you can go jump in an onsen in the mountains. And if you drive a little bit, you can go up Mount Fuji. There's outlets. It's beautiful weather. It's it's a magical place. Highly recommend Shizuoka. Wow, we've got so many comments I can't keep up. Dan H, Saudi, Jerusalem, Israel, the West Bank, all very depressing. Love the non-depressing bit of my trip was visiting Jordan. Wow, well, that's an awesome trip. You went to Saudi, Israel. I mean, yeah. And you're from, I know you're Australian, but I think you mentioned before you Lebanese background, right? So kind of, I must admit, I would love one day to hear your perspective on all of those places. Obviously, very complicated part of the world, but amazing that you get to go see them. I've never been in that part of the world. I have friends, in actually each of those sorts of places. But the only non-depressing part of the trip was Jordan. I mean, Jordan's got issues as well, of course, but that's an interesting insight. It's big news, of course, that it looks like Saudi Arabia is like this close now to establishing diplomatic relations with Israel, which I welcome. I mean, I still think, for all the issues in the world, it's always better when people are talking and engaging with each other. And I think Saudi establishing ties is going to be as big as Egypt doing so. So I think that will be a positive thing. But yeah, there you go. And Jordan, of course, has relations with Israel. So yeah. But anyway, I'd love to hear about that trip sometime. How many weeks vacation is normal in Japan every year? Asked, is this my life? 2 or 3. You don't get months off like they take in Europe. I think you get an aggregate. I think it actually works out. You get a lot of public holidays, and you get about 20 days vacation granted, which is technically 4 working weeks. But most people typically take 2, and they have 1 for emergencies and for sick days and so on. And once when I worked at a Japanese company, I took all my time off for the purpose of going to New Zealand to study to become a lawyer. And my boss complained to me loudly that I had taken so much time off. But yeah, no regrets about that. Yeah, DJ Sunny Side Up is, of course, does live streams mixing music and stuff, and it is a lot of fun, right? Wingstar, great to see you, Wingstar. Wow. And yeah, actually, I've been thinking about you, of course, with the news going on this week. Terrible news happening, of course, in Artsakh. But yeah, in Nagorno-Karabakh. So, and actually, and I have thoughts. I was thinking about sharing some thoughts. I watched a really good video on it this week, just with some insights that it's just another example, by the way, the conflict down there, that this is all basically happening when Russia thought that Europe couldn't do anything because Europe was dependent on its oil and gas. It felt like, hey, this is a good time to invade a country. And so then Europe switched from Europe to Azerbaijan as one of the major switch source suppliers. And Azerbaijan took all that natural resource money and spent it on its military, and now it's gone and basically ethnically cleansed an Armenian region within Azerbaijan. And fortunately, with it seems there could have been, geez, my connection's wonky tonight. I'll fix that in a moment. Fortunately, without the loss of life, that could have happened if the war had been more prolonged. But it just shows again, it's another reason. I mean, it's not just climate change and everything else, but when you look at what nation states that basically feel like they have leverage because of natural gas or oil, I mean, they all seem to be like taking it as a license to invade places right now. So yeah, I've been thinking about that this week. Good to see you there in the chat. But yeah, sorry, that's a dark topic, which I know you weren't asking for. Dan H, if I stop live streaming, I think I could achieve my dream, becoming an astronaut, lawyer, and fireman in space. Hey, who says that I'm not that already? I'm working on it. I'm working on it. You'd actually be surprised. I've actually been doing some space lawyering kind of stuff lately. One day I can probably talk about it. Not as much as I'd like to, but I'm on the precipice. Crow I don't know how to pronounce that. Closerinance. How hard would it be to travel to Japan without learning the language completely? Easy. Compared to the old days, easy. And you can always get around. It's not really a place that you'll ever get in much trouble without the language, so you'll be fine. Do I use a planner? Asked Wingstar. I should, but I don't. I really just use my Outlook and so on. And I've got a big poster on the wall up here with mostly the Rugby World Cup schedule. You use Hobonichi. It's great. You love Japanese stationery. Japanese stationery is still where Japan, I mean, whether you call that high tech or low tech, it's just one of those things where no matter how much Japan declines, stationery is going to be better. I should probably use that. I do like the big Japanese calendars, and I've got one of those, but I don't use a planner. I probably should. Yoni, good to see you. Wow, we've got so many people rocking in here. In fact, crikey, 24 concurrent viewers, 39 views already. It's crazy. Oh, wow, Dan H. You know what? I don't know where I picked that up. I must have picked that up wrong at some point. But wow, British, Kashmiri, and Kurdish heritage. Wow. I mean, I shouldn't. To me, that's like cool. I mean, that's really cool. I know saying cool is kind of patronizing, but yeah. Yeah, Nagorno-Karabakh. I think I've mentioned before, Wingstar, that yeah, when I majored in political science and ethnic conflict, my lecturer was Ruben Azizian, the former Soviet ambassador to New Zealand, who of course happened to be from the Armenian Socialist Republic. And so we actually focused on the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict a lot. And I know it's deep and long-running and conflict, but at the same time, I mean, what a mess. I mean, they're all a mess, but it looks like everybody's basically leaving at the moment. don't know what's going to happen to Armenia from this, but I hope that's where it stops for Armenia anyway. And I do hope actually that it's not so reliant on Russia in the future. I know right now it's reliant on Iran. I mean, there's just a ton of interesting stuff happening there, but I hope somehow, same with Georgia, by the way. I think Georgia and Armenia, culturally and so on, I think are close to Europe, and I think hopefully it's hard to say anything when the Ukraine war is going on, but yeah, indeed. Dan H, the Free Republic of Artsakh, indeed. Yeah, I mean, only recognized by by Armenia, but yeah, Russia had its hands full, and Russia and Armenia also having difficult relations at the moment. So yeah, what it's a terrible mess anyway. But yes, indeed. Milchman, good to see you. Woof. Cobras Tenchi, 30 minutes in, not a single story. Crikey, we are in. Everyone is talkative today. That's a good thing. But yeah. Okay, let's jump in. Yeah, so many interactions. The squirrels are strong. Let's do this, which means I have to once again reestablish my. Why is this breaking? It's unusual for it to break this much, but let me restart my Twitter capture thingamawhat's it. Ba-ba-boom, bada-boom, bada-boom, bada-boom. Okay, I'm gonna like go intense. I'm going to try not to get too distracted. If you do have a request, though, remember you can always, at Mark Kiko Simon, I'm going to try not to follow comments from now on that don't say my name. That's not a narcissistic thing. I mean, it is kind of a narcissistic thing, but it's primarily to try to actually get through some topics, because there are topics to talk about tonight, starting with, oh my God, holy bad ideas, Batman. The Johnny Kitagawa child molester YouTube talent company, it has announced that instead of disbanding and instead of having the company criminally investigated and compensating all the victims for the crimes that were enabled by the people in them, I mean, the fact that all of the groups were systematically groomed and prepared and molested by Johnny and everybody there knew about it, instead of going out of business and dissolving the assets and using it as compensation for the victims, no, they're gonna change their name. They're gonna rebrand, and not only are they gonna rebrand, but they're gonna ask for their fan. They're suggesting that they might do like a public vote on what their new name should be. I mean, I don't know. This is yeah, they're gonna ask the internet what Johnnies should rename themselves, and I feel tempted to say. How many? I wonder how many people are going to suggest they rebrand themselves as the Catholic Church. I don't know. I mean, yes, shouldn't have gone there probably, but honestly, same kind of issues, right? I mean, there's another thing that should they be taking? They should be disbanding, and frankly, the people running it who knew, and not just Johnny's, but all the media companies that were also aware and looked the other way, knowing that this went on, and everybody knew that this was going on for a long time. Insane. So they're going to take a vote. I mean, what are people going to, what do you suggest as the name of a company? Oh my God. So that's a terrible, I mean, literally they're going to ask the public for a new name. Holy bad ideas, Batman. Focus. Thank you. Yes. Here we go. Auntie L, good to see you. What else have we got? In a moment of bleak self-awareness, Edano, who was actually a former leader of the Democrats when they got kicked out of government and put into opposition, and he was sort of the face of the whole Fukushima response. He was the main spokesperson during that whole crisis. Right now, there's this big tussle where 45% of polls say they hate everybody. 30% say they'll vote for the LDP. 6%, the biggest opposition party, is the We Love Osaka and Screw Everybody Else party, which gets 6% of the vote, including they actually have seats in Tokyo, which is amazing. And the normal number 2 party, the Constitutional Democratic Party, they're like down at 4% right now. I mean, they're drifting into the margin of error, and they're supposedly the big umbrella, supposed to be the Democrats, like in America, the alternative choice to the LDP. Which they are not. And in a moment of rare self-awareness, commenting on the popularity of the Osaka First Ishin Party, he said, hey, none of them have any experience. If they get into government, they're going to be an even bigger disaster than our Democrats were. I don't know. Seriously, I really think sometimes, are these people just receiving money to lose? Like basically, you just let the LDP destroy itself and collect the votes, and yet they speak up and remind everybody that, oh, if they get in, it'll be an even bigger disaster than when we were in government. How do they do that? I don't understand. Sapporo J, thank you for the suggestion. And thank you for the reminder there, Aaron, to everybody to remember to hit the like button. So, yeah, this is going to go well, of course. Two kind of horrific stories in different directions. First of all, people, there's kind of a chain here of you haven't experienced real Japan until. And somebody mentioned earlier something that resonated with me until you've discovered that using a middle name is so confusing. Well, first of all, banks, they force you to write it in hiragana, but all the transfer forms require it to be katakana and nothing works. And then they force you to reintroduce a middle name when they told you first not to use a middle name and all that sort of stuff. But this is kind of dark where, yeah, because people use a stamp for signing things in Japan, a hanko, this happens sometimes for divorce documents. You'll find out that a spouse goes and takes the hanko and seals it with, takes your seal and seals divorce documents and divorces you without your consent. To which the lawyer expert Colin P.A. Jones, a person who often puts out Japanese legal news, which are actually a really great source of information, points out another case actually where a widow who was looking after her dead husband's abusive father took the hanko to file to actually file paperwork to have him adopt her so that she would collect all of his inheritance, which actually seems kind of reasonable in contrast. But again, the flaws of having the hanko system. Yeah, apparently 8 months ago, Jeffrey J. Hall, without intending it to have any particular relation to the Ukraine invasion that Russia is doing, pointed out that the Japanese government had made a manga sort of highlighting the plight of residents of the Northeast Territories of the 4 islands. I mean, Habomai is technically a bunch of islands, but what are they? Etorofu, Kunashiri, and Shikotan and Habomai, the 4 islands which are occupied by Russia. That Japan still considers to be Japanese territory. And if you ever wondered, I mean, you can look at the weather news every night. Every map of Japan includes these 4 massive islands in the northeast of Japan, which are actually have been occupied by Russia since the end of World War II. But Japan's just maintained the claim. And unlike the other rocks, unlike the Senkakus and Tokto and everything, these had people on them who were first deported to Siberian camps and then deported back to Japan. And now they live immediately, like off the it's swimmable actually to some of these islands. They're so close to the coast of Hokkaido, and these people live in the towns up there. And there's a manga that the Japanese government put out just highlighting the plight of what these people went through when they were deported from these islands. And apparently there's been a lot of people now reacting to this tweet from months ago, talking about how this is just anti-Russian propaganda, to support Ukraine or something, which he says was not the intention at all. And also points out it seems like no one's actually watched it anyway, so it's kind of felt as propaganda. But yeah, that's the thing that happened. I mean, it's basically, and this is kind of Russia's MO, right? So yeah, banjo is not a smart concept considering that you can buy them for banjo. Oh, I thought you were talking bluegrass for a minute there. I was totally confused. Considering that you can buy them for yeah, indeed. Hanko, yes, indeed. I've got you, Aaron. Yes, the fact that you can buy, if you're a Tanaka, you can literally go to a 100 yen shop and buy a Tanaka seal. And I don't know how that works. And people update them all the time as well. I reacted, probably my most retweeted tweet of the week is in the last day where I've talked about this thing. It is awful. In fact, since it's up here, I retweeted someone retweeting me. A lot of engagement on this, 210 likes and 58 reposts and quotes and so on. So I've talked about this case before, but just to recap it, there was a Sri Lankan immigration detainee, and specifically, even the way that she ended up in immigration detention. She was being abused by her boyfriend, who I think was also a foreigner, and went to the police to try to get help for domestic violence. At which time the police realized that apparently she had lost her job because of being hospitalized from the domestic violence. She had lost her job, and when she went to complain to the police realized that she had lost her job and arrested her and put her into immigration detention for deportation. And in immigration detention, she apparently had internal brain hemorrhaging. She had a lot of internal injuries, which started to sort of manifest while she was in jail. And she spent days, something like 48 hours, screaming for help. And all the guards in immigration detention, there's constant video footage of this. ignored her until she died in immigration detention. Japan's immigration detention, I've mentioned before, has been a focus by groups like Amnesty International that unlike the Japanese prison system, you actually have more rights in Japanese prisons than you do in immigration detention. You're kind of a non-human when you're in immigration detention. And yeah, I've heard stories about these immigration jails. It's just places you don't want to be. And unfortunately, deaths in custody in these immigration detention centers happen all the time. And it's a case here, someone who desperately needed medical attention and was screaming and begging for medical attention. They watched her on CCTV over 48 hours. They ignored her and she died. And her family's been in Japan campaigning for the Ministry of Justice. The Ministry of Justice, which of course manages the prosecutors, which decide whether to bring prosecutions in criminal cases, also run both the prison system and the immigration detention system and the immigration system. So essentially, the prosecutors in this case are deciding whether to prosecute themselves. They're representatives of the Ministry of Justice, sort of figuring out, was there a case of negligence leading to death here? Like, was there a manslaughter case here? Was there a negligent homicide case here? Which seems like, how could there not be? However, particularly after they initially said that there's no case, nobody had anything to answer, the family came to Japan and has been lobbying the Japanese government to reopen the case and consider whether there are charges to be brought. And apparently after, feels like a year of this, wow, it's collapsed again. I'll reboot this. But after a year of this, maybe more, the prosecutor's office announced yesterday that they looked at the facts again and they decided not to prosecute themselves. They've looked into it and they, in fact, the doctors who were assessing her at the time that she was screaming for help, the doctors associated with the detention system had assessed that no, she was simply trying to seek attention. She didn't really need any medical help, although she of course died, which implies that that probably wasn't the case. But they said that based on the doctors saying that she was just doing it for help, she was just doing it for attention. Yeah, that nobody failed to their duty of care for the detainees in the immigration detention center in Nagoya. And as a result, no one needs to be prosecuted for her being left for 48 hours screaming in pain and being ignored to die, which is ridiculous and horrible. And unfathomable, honestly, you know, and it reflects a broader pattern, which has actually caused human rights agencies to say to Japan, you've got a serious problem. And again, you know, this is the thing here. It's similar to the apprenticeship visa system that it affects. I think it negatively impacts Japan's international reputation when it's so clear that the authorities responsible essentially for both attracting foreigners and the welfare of foreigners in Japan are clearly so failing in their task to do the minimum protection of human rights of foreigners here. And Japan so desperately needs foreigners to make up for. We're dealing with another story I'm going to be talking about in a moment, the 2024 problem that Japan is having worker shortages in every sector and everywhere in Japan is now. Most regions are desperate to get more foreigners to come to Japan to keep businesses alive and to keep towns alive and regions alive. And Japan, you know, is not treating foreigners that it needs with the same respect for human rights that it treats other citizens, unfortunately. And I think ultimately this is really going to hurt Japan, not just its image, but it's really going to hurt its ability to deal with its demographic problems. And this is just a terrible injustice. It's an awful case. So, you know, that's a pretty horrible thing that happened. But yeah, Sainted Sir, good to see you. And well summarized there, Eater, indeed. You've discovered a DIY mic that sounds right late last night. Excited about doing this. Other things, ADHD has a price. Yeah, glad that you found a good mic, indeed. Otto Warmbier was in North Korea, so I mean he stole a poster, and I mean, geez, we've got no idea what happened to him. Oh, I don't have it in here, but you know there was that that American military person who was apparently running from military police. He was due to serve a military sentence, you know, military police sentence, and was sort of AWOL by he joined the North Korea Panjimon tour, and ran across to the North Korean side. Apparently the North Koreans just kept him for like 3 weeks and kicked him out and said, look, we're done with this guy. I don't know. It's kind of unusual that even kicked out by North Korea. But no, the Otto Warmbier case to me clearly was a case of actually. I mean, he didn't have a pre-existing, it doesn't seem like he had a pre-existing medical condition or that he incurred injuries tearing down the Kim Jong-un poster. It seems like whatever injuries he had that killed him were put on him by the people detaining him. So that was a pretty awful case. Anyway, more stuff. Apparently, Unseen Japan, among the measures, this is actually, well, the headline's a little bit clickbaity, as you're allowed to do. The substance of it is more reasonable, and it's worth reading this if you're interested in tourism in Japan. It's a good article from Unseen Japan, which summarizes proposals to look at the problem of over-tourism, where just the infrastructure is not really able to cope with the number of foreign tourists in some areas in Japan at the moment. So they're talking about adding levies and fees, for example, for visiting certain areas, or trying to control numbers of tour guides so that they're not destroying the nature in certain regions or whatever. And this is something that happens all over the world, of course. So they're talking about taxes. They're talking about mandatory going through tours, for example, public transport fees, sharing taxis, and so on, and just measures to try to make it more manageable to have tourists come and enjoy. So it's actually some pretty reasonable proposals, but this is all being put together at the moment by the government. In the next couple of weeks, there should be something there. So yeah, this was awesome. There was apparently, so Okinomi, a sumo wrestler. I thought this was a different sort of an event. Apparently, where he is from, it's a tradition that they do a big salt showering ceremony when he retires, for his retirement ceremony. Normally, of course, before every sumo bout, the wrestlers always take a little bit of salt and they throw it into the dohyo. It's a religious ceremony. The salt is a purification thing, and it's a religious thing. It's like spraying holy water on the dohyo. They throw it there to sort of purify the dohyo before they entertain gods on top of it. So normally the people, sort of handlers around the side, of course, they don't throw the salt. They get it ready and the wrestlers do a little bit. But for this particular ceremony, they let everybody throw as much salt as they liked. And there's actually, I've got another clip of it later on in here, but it was kind of spectacular. It was awesome. I hope he kept his eyes closed. Really weird typhoon season. We've only had 2 typhoons in Japan this year. Normally we have like lots, even though the sea temperatures are the hottest they've ever been. The weather system changed. The Siberian high pressure pushing away pushing away the sort of humid Philippine Pacific Ocean weather hasn't happened yet. So, but the sea is super warm, which does worry me if there is a typhoon, but that's an interesting one. And coming back, what I was talking before about the foreigners and so on, and the need to recognize, it's kind of funny, they talk about the 2023 problem and the 2024 problem lately, and I get them confused a little bit. The 2023 problem is a problem of there being too many skyscrapers. There's all these new buildings going up, including a new building just announced. I think this has actually been on the books for 20 years, but apparently next year they've just started construction work on a new building by Tokyo Station on the Nihonbashi side, which will be 390 meters tall and will be the tallest like building, not a tower. Of course, Skytree is I think nearly 500 meters or something. But yeah, this will be currently the highest building in Japan is 330 meters. The just recently finished Azabudai Hills, which I haven't been to yet. But apparently this one by Tokyo Station is going to be 390 meters. And it looks like it's going to be kind of cool. But with all these buildings that have been planned for over 20 years now opening up, there's a problem that there's no particular demand for extra office space, but there are all these huge new buildings with all this new office space opening up, which are, of course, to fill up they're offering, it's crashed again. They're offering cheap rent on this, which is causing tenants to leave their existing buildings. So there's this huge oversupply of office space in Tokyo at the moment, which is being viewed by the real estate industry as causing deflation. It's causing a collapse in office rents and a huge oversupply, which is leading to a bunch of open offices, which I hope is used as an opportunity by architects and so on to figure out how to use all this open space in a creative way. Better maybe convert them to other types of facilities, or just to let small businesses use them more cheaply. I don't know. That's the 2023 problem. The 2024 problem is the problem that apparently with the age of a lot of drivers, particularly of logistics, particularly of truck drivers and stuff like that, with a lot of them typically being overwhelmingly close to retirement age industry and no young people joining, there's going to be a crunch to happen next year. That there is going to be, when you have all the current people retiring and no one joining, there's going to be a complete collapse in the minimum number of truck drivers needed to sustain the economy. Same thing that's happening in Britain with Brexit in a way, but more extreme in Japan. 2024, there's going to be a massive crunch on the availability of drivers. Yeah, this is another thing that the government's trying to figure out what to do about it. And I've got this down here somewhere, but they're talking about subsidizing truck companies to be able to offer higher wages to attract young workers. But again, you're competing for workers when every industry is having worker shortages. I mean, foreigners are another kind of solution, but I do think here a solution would be to promote, support for self-driving technology and so on. Because in the end of the day, the people are not going to be increasing. It's a known thing that the number of workers is now going to rapidly collapse every year until Japan gets down to a population of like 50 million people from 120 in like 30, 40 years. The population is precipitously going to decline. So if you need to maintain the current number of truck drivers and domestic infrastructure, it's a real crisis for the Japanese government. And that's the 2024 problem. So 2024 problem is a logistics worker shortage. In 2023 is the oversupply of office space in Tokyo. But you hear about both of them here in Tokyo. This one from Lisa Twara Sone is definitely one that I feel it's where they demand that you write your name in Romaji, but then when you try to log in on the bank system, it only accepts katakana. Yes, all of that. I definitely get that. More stuff and more outrage over the Wishma case, which is just absolutely ridiculous that no one's been prosecuted for that. Bullet train extension. If you come to Japan, you're traveling around Hokuriku. I've never been to Hokuriku, but Hokuriku region. Toyama, it sort of is just south of Niigata on the west coast of Honshu. It's one of those areas when people get sent there on projects and the project would end, people go, well, I don't want to go back to Tokyo. I want to stay here. So they would quit and stay there. And I know people have got a sign there and magical. You've got skiing, you've got ocean, you've got kind of what I just described about Shizuoka. You've got out there in Toyama and stuff. So yeah, the new extension to the bullet train line, you'll be able to travel more around that part of the world, including to Fukui, which is the dinosaur capital of Japan. They've got all these crazy sand dunes and stuff out there. It's actually parts of Japan I've not been to, but really want to go to. So definitely another good reason to come to Japan right now is that region is meant to be awesome, and now you can go there by bullet train, particularly if you can get that JR pass. Demaster, you're at one of the famous hot springs in Beppu the other day, right down in Kyushu. There were so many buses, big groups of Chinese and Koreans were rapidly fed a sightseeing program. It was like a cartoon. Yeah. There's another big problem with the tourism, of course, that the number of people working in tourism, they all got laid off. All the hospital workers and hotel workers and tour guides and everything all lost their jobs during the pandemic when everything got shut down for a few years. So now they're resuming, but they don't have the same staffing as before, and they can't get those workers back. So that's another problem. So yeah. A lot of coverage continuing on the redevelopment, chopping down trees in the Tokyo Jingugayen area. That, of course, Rochelle Kopp's been one of the prominent activists around. They've decided not to chop down trees till next year, but I guess they'll be hoping that nobody will be paying attention anymore. But yeah, that's still going to definitely be controversial. Those trees, the ginkgo trees along the Icho Namiki is one of the landmarks of Tokyo, especially at this time of year, actually, when they all go sort of yellow, bright yellow for fall colors. And chopping it, losing those trees isn't part of the plan, but it's almost inevitable based on the type of redevelopment that they're doing there. And I don't know, the plan, I'm generally in favor of redevelopment. It's something that I like about Tokyo, building new stuff, but this plan does seem badly thought through. And I've done a video with Rochelle Kopp actually on this channel talking about that, where she's explained her views in detail. A question for me from Vincent Birch. Mate, on a lighter note, what kind of podcasts interest me and why? For example, you love the PBD Corp podcast because it challenges your opinions and beliefs, and they treat their guests with respect. Just thinking. I mean, I've been actually going through a lot of YouTube stuff. So I even podcasts I consume through YouTube. I've actually been listening to a lot of long form stuff tonight. Let me see if I can temporarily disconnect that and go through my watch history. Pretty sure there'll be nothing compromising in there. That's myself. My God, that's meta. Okay, no, my history list. Yeah. So let me go through. I'll show you I'll show you my podcasts, and let's go through my history list on YouTube. Actually, this would be kind of fun. I could actually do this to show you what I've been watching on YouTube every week. Why is that off center? Oh, okay. I guess with Twitter it's captured in a different place. So I'll tell you what, I'm going to go through. This is going to be a major squirrel thing, but yeah, fully charged show. I like electric cars and renewable energy, so I follow that. Non-native creative, awesome podcast and video series interviews by uh, Alicia, Alicia, who's basically does a lot of Japanese and ESL sort of channels as well. But now she's got a great project with this. She's a Japan-based sort of YouTuber and podcaster. Excellent channel there. Jabsy, history. Why did the Islamic gunpowder empires decline? Actually, I did hear that all the way through. Just the history of the Middle East, just fascinating. 39 minutes of that. I listened to that at double speed, but it was really good. I mentioned the super awkward interview with the CEO of X that I was listening to tonight. That was that. Doug DeMuro. I haven't owned a car in 25 years, and I still I love Doug DeMuro, although again, I watch it at high speed. Isaac Arthur, science fiction and space science and science fiction and how they intertwine, and futurism with Isaac Arthur. He sounds like Elmer Fudd, and he's like one of the coolest guys like ever. Isaac Arthur, I love futurism. The highlights of the NRL final that was today. What else? Viva La Dirt League. That's some New Zealanders who like make shorts making fun of video games and stuff, which is pretty good. Matt Wolf for AI news. I love that. Legal Eagle, I've really gotten into lately. That's a really great channel. Asianometry, I think, was recommended to me by Dan H, and I've become a loyal follower for that. What else? Warrior Graphics and all of those channels by Simon Whistler as the presenter are great. History with Hilbert, I enjoy, although that one got a little bit boring in the middle. I mean, I don't really care whether Henry VII spoke Welsh. That was personal interest. A lot of space channels. What About It is one of them that follows sort of SpaceX and space news. What else have we got in here? I follow Denis Davidoff for Ukraine Daily, Ukraine news and so on. That's Simon Whistler there. Got a very good hairstyle. Into the Shadows. He's got lots of channels. Daniel Orain, I don't know if that's a proper pronunciation, but he does Pop Vox sort of street interviews with people in Russia, which I actually find to be fascinating. And he puts up videos almost daily. And I feel like because I'm watching a lot of Ukraine war news, I need to counter that with something to humanize Russians. So I mainly do it through his channel, and I really enjoy that. Anton Petrov puts out science videos every day, so I do that. Knowledge-ia, I love history stuff. So why did Austria-Hungary collapse? I mean, I'm definitely into that kind of thing. Streaming equipment by Senpai Gaming. I subscribe to this channel. Japan Expert Insights. This channel, look at that, 33 views. 33 views. He is one of the most informed. Was it Langley Esquire, whatever? He's one of the best informed people talking about Japanese politics I've ever seen, and he just talks about not just the LDP and Democrats. He talks about the factions and the members. If you ever want to go deep, insanely deep on Japanese politics, he does it every week for 1.5 hours basically, and it's great, and he tells it in an interesting way. The fact that only 33 people on the internet want to listen, I mean, I think he does it in a podcast format where maybe more people access it, but it's wonderful. New Zealand news, because I'm going to vote. Cold Fusion, excellent channel. Dagogo Altride, an Australian, but he's got a fantastic channel there, Cold Fusion, which I really, really enjoy. AI news breakdown. Extra history, one of my favorite channels. The Space Bucket, which I very much enjoy. Space news. Professor of Rock History. I've been watching House of, which I feel like is breaking my brain. If you want to get to know working class Australia, God, yeah, that was a rabbit hole last night. This is the danger of sharing this. Space Heist, retelling of action movies. Yeah, that's also very, very good. Muay Thai fights. Donut, I love watching Donut. So yeah, the map of Azerbaijan is changing again. This is, by the way, IBX2Cat is just a geography channel. He just talks about maps for 20-minute long videos. I love geography. I came 4th in New Zealand in high school, university entrance geography, 1 year before I was actually in my highest year of high school. I just love maps. I just grew up, I would read atlases just for fun as a kid. So that's a taste. It's not everything, but yeah, this is kind of my current watch feed. And yeah, that's a small sample of stuff that I watch. So there you go. We are 2 minutes to go. Plenty of time, right? Plus, I've lost my place. So let's extra rapid fire through here. But since you asked, Vincent, I hope that answers the question. That's the sort of stuff I like to watch during the week or listen to. It's mostly like today running. I was listening to a lot of the stuff when I was running. So I pay for YouTube Premium so I can listen to it in the background. Yeah, oh, here's more footage again of the salt throwing. I mean, that's crazy. I love that. That was so cool. That is the 2024 problem that I was just talking about. Meta's releasing glasses that sound kind of cool. They're gonna be AI connected. I still want a little heads-up display that I can see when I'm running, so I can see my running speed and my heart rate and see a little map. It doesn't have to be high resolution even. I just want sort of a fundamental, kind of like Google Glass. I just want a simple display. Yeah, one, I think that this is kind of cool. But there again, I don't want to buy it from Meta. I find that kind of disturbing. Russia's calling up 130,000 people to go and invade Ukraine and kill more Ukrainians. And the fact that, that a day later, 91 far right-wing American senators, voted to, while holding a gun to the American government's head and the American military's head, withheld funding for defending Ukraine is just ridiculous to me. But, each to their own. But that's something that bothers me. A couple of stories about elderly politicians retiring either by choice or through medical, through unliving, as has happened this week. Yeah, I don't know. Given that the number of extreme elderly politicians is increasing, I really think they should be considering having a mandatory retirement age for politicians, just like they do for a lot of other industries. The new consul from China in Niigata seems like a lovely man. He held a press conference talking about how much he loves the fish and how he went to the supermarket and he bought it. It's really nice, and immediately became a hit with the Japanese news. Everyone loves this guy, and everyone's immediately, oh my god, China's telling everyone to ban Japanese fish right now because it's contaminated. The Chinese consul saying that he loves Japanese fish. Is he going to get sent home for re-education? I sincerely hope that he is not. And we're up on time pretty much. Apparently in the French parliament, some politicians were saying, hey, if you like nuclear power so much, go swim in Fukushima. And there's a guy swimming in Fukushima and eating the fish. So yeah, I don't know. I come from a country that's really anti-nuclear, and I'm not, I guess I am. I've become more pro-nuclear, at least in the sense that in terms of climate change, it's a lesser evil. And even with Fukushima and everything, but I must admit, particularly after Fukushima, my view of how anti-nuclear, I think they're actually, I always thought they were well-intentioned but not very smart, but I actually think now they're badly intentioned and not very smart. I've developed a really negative view of sort of people who argue around this stuff. Magpies, Quest 3, pollen at this time of year. I always get the budokusa. My eyes are starting to get itchy. I don't suffer from spring pollen. I suffer from fall pollen, autumn pollen here. It's just starting up here at the moment. It's horrible. The yen heading for 150, so look out for that. And I'm over time, but anything else significant? Some cool maps. Gaijin Mummy, awesome as usual. Maps of Japan. Hokkaido famous for cows, so Mu. Jesus was here, indeed, someone who claimed to be Jesus. Someone, probably a Russian missionary, came into Japan and first was trying to convince everyone that Jesus was a cool guy, and somewhere along the line changed the narrative and said he was Jesus. And now there's a story about a white guy who came to Japan 300 or 400 years ago and was Jesus. Sounds like a missionary gone rogue. But all this stuff, not pronounced Ibaragi, that's how everybody pronounces it. Not Tokyo is Saitama, the outer suburbs of Tokyo, home of the best tower, Tokyo, indeed. So all sorts of stuff associated with different prefectures, according to Gaijin Mummy. Another map of Japan, again, associated with, what is this even from? This is like a Google autocomplete for different prefectures. So you've got snow, milk, Akita dog. I don't know what happened to Shimane. Yeah, Shimane, talk with me after class. So yeah, Tokyo, no trash cans. Well, yeah, I guess not. Saitama lately, Kurdish people, they've been making a lot of news. Kurdish people have been a bit rowdy in Saitama. Kurdish refugees specifically. Although it seems like there's a lot of press targeting them, frankly, so that's a thing. Oh yeah, maybe the last one, maybe we'll stop it this week, is congratulations to Justin Trudeau. I never thought he'd be able to top his blackface thing, but yeah, inviting like a Nazi to the Ukrainian parliament in front of the Ukrainian president and saying, "Look at this guy, Ukrainian hero." Uh, Apparently, it was the Speaker of the House. Apparently, Trudeau didn't know it was going to happen, but yeah, introducing an SS, a Ukrainian partisan member of the Waffen SS as a Ukrainian freedom fighter who fought against the Russians. I mean, not inaccurate, but you'd only need a really basic understanding of World War II history to realize that you'd better check whether he was a Nazi or not before hailing him in the Canadian Parliament. Yeah, that was how in the hell did that happen? So yeah, Trudeau. I'm kind of amazed that he still holds on. How bad is the opposition there? That a guy who has done as many things like that as Trudeau is still in power. But there you go. I'm gonna call it there. Do I watch Scott Manley? Yes, I watch Scott Manley. He is hello there. I love how he says hello there at the start of every video. Yes, I subscribe to and I watch every single Scott Manley video. He is awesome. Good call, Natalie. I'm really impressed that you know that. You are definitely, yeah, and actually there's a few. PBS Spacetime I follow. What are some other ones? I love the Dr. Becky, I think, or the British astrophysicist, but Scott Manley I definitely follow. Marcus House, the Tasmanian guy. Yeah, I watch a lot of space channels, so yeah. Vincent Birch, I'm glad that you like them. Legend. Yeah, no, my pleasure. It's good to see you like to balance yourself. Yeah, I guess maybe that's why we're in Japan. We like atlases indeed. Kerberos Tenchi, Honda announces the electric revival of Moto Compact. That's good news. So yeah, Trudeau, what's he doing? I'm gonna stop there. How far back did I even get? 5 days. I got back pretty far through the week as things go, but I'm over time. I hope that you enjoy this. Oh yeah, good news, everybody. DPRK is now reopening the country to foreigners as of today. So if you're finding Japan too expensive, there are other choices. That's my reaction. That's not actually me, by the way, just to clarify. Have a good week, everybody. Is this what the Shimane thing was about? Wow, I didn't even know that. That's terrible. Conducted experiments on children. Jeez. Okay. Well, ending a little bit of a bummer there. I'll end with what Aaron said. Have a good week, everybody. Do stay safe. Remember, you can follow me on the site formerly known as Twitter, which is where I post all of this stuff. Do stay safe. Do stay clear of the Rona and the influenza and everything going around. And yeah, have a good week. I'll see you next week. And boom, peace. Ending stream. Oh, actually, not there. I've got to end it over here first. Here we go. See the big end button there? I click end and it ends. Ending. Peace. Oh, missed it.